Hey everyone, welcome back to the IHC Craft Room. I'm super excited for the project we're going to be working on tonight. This is live number 2 of the Sweetheart Season series, where we're going to be doing a bunch of Valentine and love themed projects from now until Valentine's Day, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you continue to join me because we're going to have a bunch of fun projects. And tonight I'm going to be making a wood round, a nice big one, actually. This one I think is 10 inches, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to be dot painting this super cute little like angel Cupid is what I'm calling it, a Cupid Angel, because it's a Cupid Angel sitting on a cloud. I think it's so cute. And I'm painting it onto this because I'm going to use this for a wreath on Thursday. We're going to make ourselves a Cupid Angel themed wreath. So join me then at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're watching this in the replay, I will tag that video up in the corner over here so that you can watch it if you like. But we're going to get started with this. Step number 1 is we're going to paint the background first. And then I'm going to show you a really simple and easy technique that I've been using since I was a wee little Mary of how we're going to get this image onto here so that we can dot paint it. So let's get started by painting the base, and then we'll move on to dealing with transferring over the image. So this is a wood round. It's very smooth. And I'm going to, okay, full disclosure, I've already pre-painted a base, okay, which we are going to be dotting in a minute. And I made my base a really pale pink because I want to be able to show the clouds and stuff. And I didn't want to have a white background for that purpose. And I didn't want black either. So light pink is what I chose to do for my background. And because I mixed acrylic paint, which is this Tutti Frutti that I picked up at the dollar store at Dollarama, with my chalk paint from Michael's, this is Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint. I mixed them together to do my base. And I thought that would be, thick enough to just do one coat, but as it turns out, it wasn't. And I had to do 2 coats, and then I did a varnish on top. I used my matte Liquitex varnish. So the reason I'm telling you all of this is because if you intend to do a mixed color, you'll probably have to do a couple of coats. I would recommend starting with just a plain white coat, and then you'd be able to do your mixed color right on top of it and get a great shade. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to just paint this white. And then we'll move on and start dot painting and putting everything over it. Now I'm going to get a rubber glove because I do not want paint in my nails. I find it hella frustrating. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to use my chalk paint. We're going to give this a thin coat. And I generally almost always paint the edges, but that takes a minute and I don't have the patience for that tonight. So I'm not going to paint the edges right now. You do what you want to do. I will say that there's no way you can get away with just one coat of paint on this wood round. It doesn't matter what paint you're using, whether it's chalk paint or it's a mixed color like we were just talking about. It's such a smooth surface. You really do need that extra coat. I don't know if roughing it up would help, probably. But I'm too lazy to do that because then you'd have to wipe it clean after you sand it. No, thank you. So I would rather just do a couple of coats. We'll let this first coat dry. And then whatever color you choose to do for your background, if you want to do something other than white, go ahead and apply that over the white. And if you want to stick with white, then another coat would do you very well, I'm sure. Now, I printed out the image that we're going to be working on today. Oh, by the way, there is a free downloadable of that image. So if you want to dot along with me, whether that's live or in the future watching it as a replay, please check out the description of this video and you'll find a free downloadable that you can use. And I ended up blowing up the image quite a lot when I printed it out tonight. I think I ended up printing it out at 125%, if I'm not mistaken. There's very little of the writing left on it because I blew up the image so much. So, you know, test that out, what size you need to blow it up to fill your space, or maybe you don't want to fill it completely. I do want to get, you know, a decent size coverage on this. I really put way too much paint on this right now. I don't know why I dipped that so hard. Okay, let's spread it out up here. Okay, so basically, at this point, I would leave this to dry for, I mean, you really should wait a few hours to get it to dry really, really well, but I'm super impatient, so I would not wait for a few hours. I'd probably wait 20 minutes to a half an hour until I get it like decently dry, and then I do another layer on top, personally. But you can see how it's streaky and you can still see a little bit beneath it, right? And that's what I mean by you're definitely going to need at least 2 coats, whatever your color ends up being. But for the purpose of this live, I'm going to consider this done and move this aside. And we are going to get started dotting on the background I already have done. So let me just move this. Pardonnez-moi. As we scoot. Beautiful. Okay, so here is the background I already painted last night. Because of the lighting and the camera, you can't really tell, but it is a very, very faint pink. And because of that, it'll be easier for me to use white for the clouds and stuff. Okay, and you can see how big I printed this out in order for it to fill a good portion of the background. Okay, so let's get started. If you are able to freehand draw and you wanted to draw, I would be very jealous of you. I am not capable of such a thing. So this is what I use as my, I don't know, equalizer. Since I can't play on that field, I will transfer it with chalk instead and not freehand draw because it would be highly embarrassing and really just stick figures. A whole bunch of stick figures in different positions wearing different size shoes, most likely. Yeah, okay. So step number 1 is to cut it out so that we can get a good sense of where it's going to lay on our background. Step number 2 is we need a chalk pencil. You can also use a regular pencil if you want, like a regular lead pencil. That's not a problem. You can easily do this transfer method using regular pencils. I have in the past. I just find it a bit more challenging to erase the lines afterwards when it's a regular pencil. So whenever possible, I try to use a chalk pencil. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for me because this is a very pale pink. I'm hoping that I'll be able to see the chalk when I'm dotting. So we'll see. So all we're going to do is just color this whole area so that there's chalk completely covering the backside of this image. And then we're going to use something, anything you want. You could use a pencil or a pen. You could use the top of a paintbrush or, I don't know, whatever you want. I'm going to be using a dotting tool to outline the image and basically transfer the chalk over and the image over. And then we're going to start dot painting. I do enjoy using chalk pencils for this, but I also find chalk pencils really frustrating because they break on me all the time. Because I'm a bit aggressiva, I guess, but whatever. Okay, you want to make sure you don't miss anything because then when you're in the middle of transferring it, to have to remove the image, to flip it over and put more chalk on it is bothersome, especially because then you're going to have to try to line it up with what you've already transferred, and it's a thing. It's a whole thing. I think I've got all of it. I think so. All right. I was a little chintzy over here. All right, let's move on to the transfer portion of our show. And like I said, I'm using a dotting tool, but you can use whatever you want. Just make sure it doesn't pierce your paper. You don't want to break through. And we're going to line this up however you want. Feel free to use a ruler to find the center of your round. You can absolutely do that. I don't particularly care if things are a little bit off center or off balance or not perfect, because that's the way I like to roll. Because there's already too many perfect things in this world. I like a little character in my work, so I don't have any problems with things like that. All right, so I'm going to be using my dotting tool that is a 2.0 millimeter to trace, but you can use anything you want. And basically, once you've decided where you want your image to be, you want to use your hand as an anchor and hold it down, and then you're not going to move this again. That way you won't mess up your design. And you want to try to remember where you start and what you've done, because if you're not using a pen or a pencil for this part, you won't actually necessarily remember what you've already done. So all I'm doing is using a little bit of pressure to literally outline this whole thing. That's all we're going to do. Yeah, this is going to be easy to get lost. Like, what did I actually transfer and what did I not? I think I'm going to do the whole outline first, and then I'll go back to do the swirls. Now, remember, when you're transferring and doing dot painting in this way, I really love this. It's fun to me. I really think it's a great way to get a really pretty image. But it's not going to be perfect, and not everything can transfer over into the world of dot painting because the dots won't make it very obvious. You know what I mean? So what I mean is, if you look at the eyes and the mouth on this image, they're these little teeny tiny things. That would get so lost in a sea of dots. You won't be able to see that. So we're going to have to take a little bit of artistic license and give her some bigger eyes and some bigger lips. So that it doesn't get lost. That happened to me with a couple of other projects that we worked on recently. My gingerbread girly, she was so cute. I ended up giving her a much bigger lip than I intended because you just couldn't see the little teeny tiny lip. Okay, I'm going to show you what I've done so far. But again, I'm holding on to this so that I don't accidentally shift my paper. Oh, great. I can't see anything. I'm very glad I'm checking this, because how am I supposed to dot this if I can't see it? Yeah, okay, plan B. I'm going to actually have to try to do this with an actual pencil now, because if I can't see this, this is a waste of my time. And yours. So let's pivot. We're going to grab a regular pencil, and I'm just going to have to do a good job erasing it. This is all. I hope that the chalk underneath isn't going to cause a problem. We'll see. Well, that's a bummer. I had checked it earlier to see if I could mark the paint and see the chalk, and I was able to see it, but I guess I'm not pressing hard enough for that to be the case now, so... I'm gonna see. My heater's cooking me right now. How low do I have to go? Just the feet. Okay. I think we've covered it nicely. Did I get all the way up to the edge here? No, I didn't. I don't think I need it much further over here, but just in case. Okay. Let's try that again. And this time I'm not going to trace as much until I see. Look, I'm going to get lead on everything. I'm going to try to wipe my hands off a little bit. Okay, here we go. Are you in the middle? Do I like where you're positioned? That's good. Let's try this again. Part 2. Okay, that's working. You might not be able to see it as much. And the reality is that I'm trying to not press too hard. I don't want to make it hard on myself to erase these lines later. I really just need a guide. This doesn't need to be perfect. I don't need like the Picasso or like, let's chill, guys. It's just a dot painting. We're just trying to have a nice time. You know what I mean? Take it easy. Things don't have to be perfect. We want to get the gist of it. It'll look cute in the end, trust me. I'm pumped. This is going to be great. And I'm going to totally use this for a wreath on Thursday, and it's going to be so fun. Okay, let's just have a quick look. Great. Beautiful. I'm going to go back in now and get these swirls because I really do intend to kind of make that visual happen with the dots as well. We're going to use I have a dark brown called Burnt Umber. All of my craft paints are from Dollarama in Canada. But any craft paint, any acrylic paint, any paint you like, do you? Just have fun. Okay, I feel like I did all of the hair. Did I? Yep, I think we've got it all. Good. Okay. So again, these little eyes, we're going to turn them into open eyes that are dots, you know, like we're going to have to make some changes here because those little cutesy closed eyes are not going to work. They're not going to translate well. There's probably going to be a few things that don't translate well. Like some of these hearts might not make it. We'll see. I'm not overly stressed. We really just want the angel. And everything around it, we can always adjust and pivot if necessary. Like, what is this? Like a heart? I don't even know what that is. It seems like a warped heart? A petal? I don't know. It's weird. Okay. We did all of those. Let me do the cloud. Again, let's have a quick look. Very good. So as I mentioned when we were painting the base coat, I paint my base coat in whatever color I want. And then I always, without fail, put a layer of varnish or 2 over top once it's fully dry. The varnish is incredibly important if you are somebody who makes errors like I do. I make errors all the time. I'm constantly making little mistakes. And there's a lot of them that I just keep because I like the character of them and I don't really care enough to try to fix them. But then there's some that, no, I have to fix them. It'll bother me or, you know, something like that. And having that coat of varnish is literally the only thing that's going to help you because that varnish is going to protect your base coat and it'll help you remove those dots when you're trying to clean up. It's really your bestie when it comes to correcting errors. So definitely highly recommend putting a layer or 2 of varnish. I'm starting to press a little too hard and I'm going to regret that later. I want to make sure that there's enough. See, I didn't do this. I don't know, what do you call this? The dart holder. Her little basket, oh, darts. I didn't have that outlined, so let's see. Does that look better? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Like I said, this is, as much as this doesn't look like a complicated picture, it is quite complicated. There's a lot of little things, and, you know, it's not a big deal. You can take your time and make your way through it, and it will be easy enough to do in the end if you take your time. But for the sake of this live, we're going to get through as much as we can tonight. And if we don't get every part of the angel done tonight, well, either I'll go live again tomorrow night to complete it. Depends on how much is left. Because I want to use this for Thursday, so it's important that it gets done like today, tomorrow. I don't love this. Okay, we have the two arms. That's a cloud. Oh, right, I didn't do the bow. How are they going to shoot the arrows, Mary? Like, seriously, girl, get it together. All right, I feel like we've covered everything. We've got, did I get the swirl over there? So we've got the clouds. I think these might be angel wings a little bit. I can't really tell because the color is the same as the cloud. So, but they have the same little curve on each side. That makes me think it might be an angel. I don't know. Not an angel wing. I almost missed out on this heart arrow that's stuck in the cloud here. That would have been upsetting. This is why I keep going back and forth, because you think you can tell, but it takes a minute to register in your brain. Am I missing anything over here? We have the curvy thing, the arrow. Okay. I think I'm ready to let go. And we're going to get started. Voila. Now, I know with my lights, it's probably going to be a little hard for you to see the outline. So I'll show you a little closer. Okay. So you want to target something along these lines. Enough that it's like close enough that you'd be like, okay, I can make it work. All right. So I am going to keep my image near me at all times because it'll help me to see what I need to do. Let me get my... do I have my eraser? Yes, because I see a lot of this lead that I had on my hands all over the place. Okay. I'm going to have to get over it. Let's let it go, Mary. Okay. I think I'm going to start with the hair, particularly because I want to do two different colors of brown for this. So we're going to start off by doing all of the outline and swirls in this dark burnt umber, which will give us a really good contrast. And then I'm going to add some white to it and lighten it up just a little, just so that there's a bit of contrast. Okay, so tonight I'm going to be using dotting tools because I just feel like it. But if you would like to use things from around your home, I would suggest you use things like, I have this shish kebab skewer, which has a great pointed end, and it has a nice round top as well. These paintbrushes all have different bottoms, which are a great opportunity for different sizes. When you're looking for something for a lot of detailed work, toothpicks are always your friend. And never forget about my BFFs for life, the Q-tips. You can use them as they are. You can pull the cotton off and just use the rod. There's tons of stuff around your house. You could use the tip of a pencil. You could use an eraser. There's a million things around your house that will give you decent dots. And once you get used to the way they feel, you'll be able to get great dots out of them. So don't worry if you don't have dotting tools. You can totally dot along regardless. So because we have a lot of real estate to cover, I'm not going to be using like a super fine dot to do my outline. Generally, when I do an outline, I like to go with the smallest dotting tool I have. It's got the tiniest tip. It's a 0.8 millimeter, but I definitely want to keep things moving. So I'm going to use a bigger one today, which is a 2 millimeter. And we're going to get started doing the outline of the hair. All right, are you ready? This lady is about to come to life. So a general rule that I have when I'm starting a design is to try to start in a place that obviously it's visible, but is kind of inconspicuous. Like it's not going to be the first thing your eye is drawn to. And the reason for that is because I'm basically establishing the size of my dots as I go. My first dot is never going to be the same size as the dots that I end up sticking around with. And that's just because of a lot of different factors related to how to change the size and the shape of a dot. So the number one thing about size of dots is obviously the dotting tool that you're using. I'm using a 2 millimeter dotting tool. So we're going to get some, you know, pretty robust dots. They're not going to be tiny. But it's also about the pressure that I use when I place my dot, the amount of paint that I get on my dotting tool when I'm using it. These are all factors that impact the size of the dot that you're going to have. So I always end up doing a few dots before I kind of land on that dot that I'm like, okay, that's the size I'm going to go for. And then I try to kind of emulate that with every consecutive dot. The other thing that you'll notice is that I'm always going back for paint between every single dot. This is really important to keep your dots uniform. Between all those things I just said, you want to get fresh paint on your dotting tool. You're going to learn and establish the pressure that you want to place so that you can get the size dot that you want. These all work together. I actually need some more paint because I feel like I'm scraping the bottom of my palette when I'm grabbing paint. And that's because you don't really need a lot of paint when you're dot painting, unless you're doing really big dots. But sometimes I get a little too conservative and I regret it. So let's put a little bit more paint in there. Okay. See, I knew that was going to happen. See those little dot spots? No, you probably can't even see it. I got some brown paint spatter. All right. Here we go. Let us continue. So if you're new to dot painting and you're trying to master how to establish the space between your dots, this kind of project is a really fun way to practice because you can leave as much room as you want. I don't need to put them close. As you can see, I'm not really putting my dots super duper close. I'm making sure that there's a decent gap in between each dot. And that's for a couple of reasons. Number one is I don't want a blob dot. A blob dot meaning, hello, Tony. Thanks for watching. And thank you. I think the Cupid looks cute too. I hope it ends up cute in the end. I'm sure it will. I totally lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Okay, I think I was talking about spacing. So if I was, I like these kinds of projects for practicing techniques. The only way you're going to get better at dot painting is the same way you get better at everything else. You have to practice. And I personally don't enjoy practicing dot painting on a practice sheet, where you're like doing something in repetition. I don't like that. I want to make something. I don't care how bad it comes out. I don't care how wonky my dots are or how many blob dots I make or whatever. I'm practicing while I'm doing it. And ultimately, that's going to lead you to where you want to go. You want to get to the point where you have mastered these little different aspects and skills of dot painting. got to practice them. And these are lots of fun to do. There's lots of little techniques that you can learn by, you know, practicing on an image like this. Something else to make note of is when we're done and we go back and erase all of these pencil guidelines, you're going to notice some spots where you're like, oh, well, there should have been a dot there. I don't know why there's no dot there. It's because sometimes your eye tricks you with the stencil that you have. And it fills in the gap for you, or it didn't make sense for you to put something there when you had the line in place. But once everything's removed, you realize, oh no, there's a gap there. I need to fill it in. So always be prepared when you get to the point where you're about to erase your guidelines. Have your painting tools handy because you might want to add a couple of things in that now without the guidelines become glaringly obvious to you. Look at this. I keep getting little splatters of this brown paint on the background and I don't want that. If I have to, I'll live with it. But whenever you can catch something before it dries, go for it. Okay. See, now we're cooking. We got the vibe going. Oh, I also want to say, if you're a beginner dot painter and you're watching this thinking, oh my God, I can't dot that fast. Of course you can't. Don't expect to. I've been dot painting for several years. And that's why I'm dot painting fast. And this is a live, and I don't really want to be dotting at a slow speed so that people get bored. But please, please be aware that when I started dot painting, and for several months, I want to say, while I was learning how to dot paint, I would make sure to take a deep breath between every single dot. Every single dot. Imagine how long it would take to have done all of this if I stopped to take a breath. So I want you to use that as a bit of perspective when you are dot painting and it's taking you a long time to do it. It should. You're doing the right thing. Take your time. Learn how to position each dot. Understand the way the dot spreads because of the extra paint or because of the way you're holding your dotting tool. You'll see that a lot of dot painters hold their dotting tool straight up and down. That gives you a really nice, beautiful circular dot if you do that. However, I find that really hard to maintain that position with my hand. I find it easier to be in this pencil pen writing position, which means I'm coming at the dot from an angle. So there is always the potential that my dots are not going to be perfectly round because of that. I know that, so I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it because I like it. But if you care, then try putting your dotting tool vertical, straight up and down. And you're going to notice that your dots take on a different shape. They'll have a more beautiful, direct circular motion, or shape rather. Absolutely try. This is why these projects are so fun, because you get to start learning the way each of your paints, all of your paints are going to react differently as well. And there are a lot of mediums out there that you can use to thicken or thin out your paint so that it's more appropriate for you dotting. The way you want to have your paint when you're dotting is kind of like thick honey. That's a little thinned out. Meaning you don't want it to be so thick that when you place a dot, you get a peak. If you get a peak, you're going to have a problem because that is not going to be a good paint for dot painting. You're going to need to thin that out. And there's a lot of products on the market that you can pick up at craft stores like Michael's and Joann's and stuff that would be really helpful for that, for you to make your paint the consistency you want. I personally don't have the patience for that, so I never do it. I just deal with it. If the paint is too thick, then maybe I won't use it. If it's too thin, maybe I won't use it. I'll use it for a different project. I mean, I'm lazy. I don't want to mix all that stuff and buy all these extra things. You can, though. So go for it if that blows your hair back. My hair stays completely flat against my head when I think about that. So I'm definitely not going to be the one to buy those things. But you totally can. I like to keep it chill here at the IHC craft room, guys. We're just going to chill. We're going to dot. We're going to be super chill and calm. Life's hard, you know? I had a busy day. A good day, but a busy day. So this is nice to kind of chill. We're going to make something super pretty. I'm going to use it for my wreath on Thursday. I'm thrilled. I have to say, I'm not a super big fan of this paint tonight. It isn't really performing the way I want. It kind of keeps giving me a bit of a warped dot. And I wonder why that is. I don't feel anything in the paint. I don't know. Who cares? It's not a big deal. I'm going to go back and do this now before I go too far. I don't want to forget about it. This is a good example of how we're going to notice it later. Because I just skipped a spot where I kind of think I might need a dot, but I'm going to leave it and see. After we erase all the guidelines, we'll see. So let's talk about that a little bit. When we're done, like fully done. Oh, that was close. I almost made a blob dot on that one. I wasn't paying attention, you see? What was I saying? When this is fully done, I'm going to let this dry for at least 24 hours. And then I will do 2 thin coats of varnish. And I showed it earlier, but I'm going to show you again right now. I almost always exclusively use Liquitex matte varnish. Matte just because I use a lot of lights and the matte makes it easier for not have a lot of glare. If not, gloss is fine, whatever you want. And it doesn't need to be this varnish. Get your own, get whatever you like. Just protect it in some way so that you don't lose the vibrancy of the colors. And so you don't, we got to protect our angel. Like, come on. She's so cute. She's just so cute and angelic and nobody will defend her. So we have to do that. So let it dry for 24 hours, then put at least 1 coat of varnish, let it dry for a few hours, and then another coat would be really great. And however, between finishing and varnishing, there is a very, very crucial step, and that is erasing the guidelines. If you don't erase the guidelines and you paint varnish on top, the guidelines are there forever. So you've been warned. Always remember to erase your guidelines. And always let your dots dry first. I am so guilty. So guilty. How many times I have finished a live, and then because I want to take a picture to put it in the thumbnail of the video, I end up being impatient and I start erasing the dots. And guess what happens when that happens? Oh, yeah. They're not dry. So I smear the paint all over the place. I don't want to talk about it. I've done it at least twice in the last 2 months. So I'm going to attempt not to do that to myself again tonight. And that is my advice to you as well. Let your art dry for at least 24 hours before you erase your guidelines. You have been warned. Do with it what you like. Okay, so once I'm done this row here, and actually we have a little bit right there, I'm going to leave the brown for a bit, and we're going to move on to a different section of the drawing, and then I'm going to come back to this later to fill it in. My preference is to always try to do the outline first because you get a good sense of what it's going to look like and if you need to make some pivots. All right. What do you think? Cute, right? Ugh, this is going to be so good. I'm so excited. All right. So next we're going to move on to, let's do the outside of the face outline. So I have this really beautiful it's called Cashmere Tan. It's Acrylic, which is the crafter's acrylic paint from Dollar Tree here in Canada. So I'm not a huge fan of the consistency of this paint, but I love the color of it. I feel like it's a really lovely, oh, chill, bro. Like a really lovely caramel kind of mocha color. I love it. Well, you had to make a big mess though. Like, why? After I'm singing your praises right now and you're being all messy and stuff. Like, dude, get it together. All right, let's move on. I'm going to stick with the same size for basically the whole outline, unless there are areas that are too intricate, in which case we will size down on the dotting tool. But for right now, this outline should be not a problem. I'm going to actually turn this way. Now, when you do see the smaller detailed stuff, there's, like I said, there's going to be some stuff we're just going to skip over completely because it's just not going to work out. I don't know if you can tell, but these dots are significantly, well, maybe not significantly, but they are a bit larger. Oh, that was close. I almost made a blob dot. Is it a blob dot? Do I need to clean that? Well, they don't seem to be merging, so I'm going to leave it for a minute. This paint is significantly thicker than the brown paint I was using. So this is one of those paints that would leave a little peak. And you need to be aware of that. So I would most likely not use this color paint for a larger dot because of the fact that it's thick. And I don't want to worry about a peak forming or the paint cracking and dipping. Okay, wait. So that's the ear. This is the wing. Okay, we're going to go this way now. Yeah, this is a considerably thicker paint, which in some ways is really nice because it's not moving. You know what I mean? I double dotted so close to over here and they're not merging. And that's because the paint's pretty thick. If this was a thin, runny paint later, that would have been Blob City and I would have had to clean it for sure because that's in it too obvious of a spot for me to leave a blob. That's a good example of something that I would correct rather than living with the quirkiness of it. I just realized I'm now wearing my dollar store bifocal old lady glasses. Oh, well. Okay. I kind of wanted to go one more, but I don't think I'm going to. So now the inner part of the ear, it kind of has this like darkened little spot in each ear. I'm really not sure how to reflect that here because if I put a dark dot there, it's going to look like the angel has hair in its ear. I feel like, I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, there's a little gap between this last dot that I did for the ear and the hairline, and I'm not going to mess with that because I know better. If I try to put a dot in there, I will definitely get a blob. So I'm going to let this dry and I'll come back to it later and put a little tiny one of these in there so it'll blend in and you won't even notice it. Okay, so let's see. What are we going to do next? I'm going to stick with this color, and I think what we'll do is the arm, the shoulder, and then this arm here, and we'll do the legs and everything, and then we'll come back and do the dress and all of that. Okay. Oh, I just flipped my dotting tool over without realizing it. The top of the dotting tool, just so you know, is not the same size as the bottom. Okay, so when you see a size on your dotting tools, I put these on here, so ghetto, like 7 years ago. But what they say on whatever ad where you purchase it, if that's on Amazon or someplace, they'll tell you the size, but the opposite end is not the same size. I think these ones, this entire set that I have, they're a 1.25 on the top, but we're using a 2 millimeter to kind of get the ball rolling over here. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a challenge here. So we're going to see. Same thing. I'm going to leave that little gap there. We'll come back. Not a problem. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk the dots off the edge of this, I think. Yeah, I like that idea. And I might do that to taper the hand as well. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Walking the dots is a technique that I use in practically every single dot painting project that I use or that I do. And remember earlier I was talking about always coming back and refilling the paint on your dotting tool. Well, walking the dots is the exact opposite of that. You're just going to get some paint on your dotting tool, and then you're not going to refill it, and you're just going to dot, dot, dot. Okay, so we're going to start up here. And you see how they get smaller and smaller? That's what walking the dots is. I'm not really loving the way that turned out. It kind of makes it look like her hand is disappearing. So I might actually dot over top of those because I don't love the way that looks. I thought it would work better than it did. But I'm going to do that here. Okay. All right. I think I am going to make those a little bit bigger while they're still drying. I'm going to use the top of my dotting tool because I do want them to taper out a little bit, just not as much as they did. That's good. Good. All right, let's move on to the other arm. Okay. I want this to be a little bit on the small side, so I'm going to use the top of my dotting tool again. Beautiful. Well, since I did the outline on that side, I'm going to do it on this side too. So that means we're not going to outline the dress. We're just going to fill it in most likely. All right. What do you think? We are definitely getting there. I'm going to actually, I just threw a toothpick for no apparent reason. I don't know if you can see, but when I just poured that, it's not spreading out. You see, it's kind of staying in a little bit of a mountain. That's what I mean by it's a bit too thick. It shouldn't be holding its shape quite so well. A bit, sure, but not quite so well. So make sure to always have a look at your hands because it's easy to transfer paint if you're not paying attention. At least if you're Mary, it happens pretty consistently. So, you know. Okay, let's start over here. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of walking the dots near the toes to get that more tapered look. If you're just joining me, we are about 50 minutes in. We're dot painting this super cute Cupid Angel. This is a fun, beginner-friendly project. That's a great way to practice dot painting. At least I think so. Okay. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, so we've got the face outlined, the body outlined. So let's move on to the dress. So in this image is kind of like a really pale blue, which I really like. I think it's really cute. So we're going to do a really light blue. But I mean really, really light. So I am going to mix up a color for that. And it's going to start with a heck of a lot of white acrylic paint. And then we are going to mix in a little bit of tropical blue. I'm going to start off with it a little bit lighter. Well, actually, I should start the other way around. Because these lines I want to do in that bit of a darker blue. What do I want to do? How do I want to do that? Because I do want it to be a faint blue, but then we need to have that definition. So it needs to be a little darker. I think what I'm going to do is, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because I'd rather do those lines first, but then that means I got to make this really dark and lighten it up again. Yeah, all right, that's what we're going to do. It's okay. So as you can see, I'm mixing this pretty aggressively and pretty quickly. I don't recommend you do that because it's going to make it pretty bubbly because I'm introducing a lot of air to it. So word to the wise, be more patient than me, go slower, and you'll get better results. Or you could go quickly like I am and just live with it. You know, do what you think is best. All right, now we're getting to a color I want. That's nice. I like that light blue. Should I go just a tiny bit lighter? No, this is going to be good for that definition line. Okay, then we're going to mix it again. We'll add some more white in and lighten it up a little bit. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to use this just to outline the bottom of the dress right here. And then these gathers that are drawn in. Then we're going to lighten this up a lot and we'll fill in the dress. I think I'm going to do a bit of a, no, I'm going to stick with the same size. I want it to be uniform for the outline as much as possible. Okay, you're going to notice that I keep doing this. So this is a IHC quick tip for you. When you get to the edge of something and you're not sure if you have enough room for it, just don't do it. Leave the gap. You can go back later when your dots are dry and it's not an issue. There's no need to try to figure out if you can make it work and chill out. It's not a big deal. It's not that deep, you know? Okay, I'm going to taper this out with walking the dots. Okay, that's going to be a challenge there because those are really tight to each other and it's going to be pretty impossible to make that work. So I'm going to actually walk the dots towards it and see how I like that. I'm okay with that. I'll do it the same on this one. That's it. I'm not going any further. This is going to be one of those situations when I erase my guidelines, I'll go in and pop a couple more blue dots in, I bet. We'll see. Beautiful. That looks so cute. All right. So now we're going to need to make this whiter. Might as well just do that now. Lighten it up because I'm not going to need that blue elsewhere. So let's go ahead and finish off this color so we know we have it right. I love these little paint pods. I picked them up at Dollarama. I think they sell them 3 or 4 in a pack. Totally worth it because the lid is really airtight. So you could totally keep this and use it for the foreseeable future for other projects so that you don't have to keep remaking the same color. This is going to need, I'm probably going to fill this with white to make it the color I want. Okay, now we're getting closer. I would say this is nice and light compared to that. I don't know if you can see. Well, probably not, but you can take my word for it. It is significantly lighter, which is what I wanted. So now I'm going to let this sit because we're not going to fill that in right now. In case you haven't noticed until this point, I like to make my life as easy as possible when I'm dot painting, and there's no need to rush. We can come back and fill in the dress later when the outline has dried. It'll make life so much easier. Okay, so what we're going to do next then is I think I'm going to move on to, should we do the cloud or should we do the bow and arrows? I feel like the cloud and I think those are wings. I'm not sure. I think we're going to do that. So we're going to make those white, which is the reason why the background is this pale pink instead of white so that we can get that contrast. I think I'm going to start on this side. Let me move these around a little bit. Okay. I'm going to start over here. Oh boy. I put that super close for no reason. Now we're going to see if it's going to turn into a blob. No, it doesn't seem to be, which means this paint is going to be a lot easier to work with because it's not so runny that it's going to cause my dots to run into each other. Beautiful. So I walked the dots on that spiral. Let's talk a little bit about bubbles. That's the first bubble I've had tonight, which is kind of surprising. Always, always pop your bubbles. When you find a bubble in one of your dots, do not leave it there. It's going to pop. It might not pop right now, but it is going to pop. And then it's going to pop when the bubble's already kind of dry, and that bubble will get stuck into your final result, which I don't think you want. I know I don't. So when you find a bubble, pop it. If you don't have a sharp tool like this one, toothpicks are your friends. They will work very, very well. Okay. So we're in a bit of an area where it's going to be tight. So I'm going to go from the center here and walk the dots in so that they thin out a little bit. Now, for the arrow, the bow and arrow, the bow itself actually, you can see that it's outlined on one side and the other, and then there's this open gap in the center. I'm not going to leave that open gap. I'm going to dot almost perfectly, like identically. We're going to taper off a little here and we'll taper off a bit there, but we're just going to put bigger dots. I'm going to use a different dotting tool and fill it in. And that's because, again, like I was saying earlier, some things do get lost in translation when you're dot painting an image like this. And that nuance of having an outline and then that internal part of such a small piece, it's going to get lost. It'll make it muddy and distracting. You're better off just filling that in. How do I want to do this? I think I'm going to go like that. So because I'm now dotting towards another dot, I'm about to complete this shape, right? And I mean, I'm keeping my dots pretty uniform and separated, but there's a very good chance I won't be able to hit that last spot properly. I have a bit of a gap there. I could probably sneak a dot in there without them touching each other. But again, why? Just leave it. Let it dry. We'll come back and fill it in later. Not a big deal. Okay. I'm going to flip this around to the side because I want to get into this little area here. So this is a heart. This is I guess that's a wing. And then we have the little device that's holding, they don't have a line there, but I'm going to have to put a line there to show the edge of the little basket, or else it's going to get lost in the wing. So yeah, I think I will do that. Okay, I'm going to start. You know, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to dot paint the hearts at all. I think I might paint them in with my dotting tool. Instead of dotting them, I'll like fill it in with paint. I feel like that would look good. You can see I walked the dots on the edge of that curve. Gives you the tapered finish that that I was looking for, at least. Okay, so here's the basket when there's no line there, but I'm going to pretend there's one. What color am I going to make this basket? They make it kind of like a blush color. I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a gray. What do you think? What color should we make this little basket thing? Actually, now that I'm looking at it, this is going to be one of those things that you're going to lose sight of it. It's not going to make sense visually of what that is. So I think I might just leave these as full sticks, like arrows that are kind of sitting off to the side. She's holding this one. I think that is what I'm going to do. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to leave that alone for now. We'll come back to it later and make a decision, because maybe filling everything in around it will help me decide how I want to handle it. So we'll just kick that down the road a little bit, come back to it later. Oh, that's some black paint. I mean, brown paint. Oh, well. If you're just joining us, we're about an hour in, and we are dot painting this super cute Cupid Angel. I'm using this on a wood round that I picked up from the dollar store. And we're going to use this as a beautiful sign, like a decorative sign for a Valentine's Day themed wreath that I'm going to make on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't miss that because you're going to be sad. Because this is going to be so fun. Okay, I'm going to walk the dot a bit there. Yeah, I really don't know what to do about that basket. Maybe I will just outline it and see how it looks. I think I'll outline it with really small dots. But what color? Maybe gray for real. I'll do like just a little speck of black and some white. Literally a drop. Okay. Let's see how that does for me. Let me see. See that one little dot? And there's no joke that black. It means it. I think I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. This is why I end up using those little paint pods that I showed you earlier that I used for the light blue, because I end up never loving the color, and then I end up with too much paint in the paint palette, and I make big mess. Okay, I like this color. This is a really subtle light gray, like a dove gray. Mi piace. Okay, I'm going to use my really small dotting tool for this one because I'm going to see if we can maybe score a little bit of definition that would be helpful in outlining this. So let's see. I'm going to start with the rim. Okay, that's good. We'll do one more. Oh, be careful. I have to be careful not to rest my hand on these dots that we just did, or that will end badly for me. And I can't swear on YouTube, so. Okay, so this continues right here and here. Okay. So that's an arrow in her hand. I'm just going to make it come down here as though it's just like that. What do you think? That looks cute, right? You can tell that it's the little quiver. I think that's what it's called, the quiver, where they put the arrows. How would I know? I know nothing about archery. Okay. I think we're doing really well here. I'm going to leave the hearts till the end, I think. Let's do the, what's that thing called? The bow. And we're going to do it red. I like this red concept of the bows here. That is a really bright red. Should we darken it up a little bit? Nah. Bring it. It is very vibrant. Okay. So this, the actual like string, I'm going to use this really small dotting tool for that. And then the actual bow, we will make with a much larger dotting tool. This paint is rather thin, so it's taking a lot of concentration to make sure that I'm getting my dots to be the same size. Now we want that to end up coming through the hand. Okay. Now we're gonna go up to the biggest dotting tool I have, which is a 3mm. It's dirty. That's weird. I normally try to always clean my dotting tools as I go, which I'm sure you've noticed. I use a wet rag for that. I have it off to the side here. Highly recommend using these J cloths. You can get a whole bunch in a roll. And oh my God, I use these for so long before I toss them out and go to something else. It's very bueno. Okay, so for these curves, we're going to do a walk the dots for that. So I'm going to start right here in the center because that's where we're going to have our biggest dots. So I'm going to start with my thickest dots right there. Yeah, I'm not loving the consistency of this paint. Nice big, but only a few. The rest of these we're going to start walking now. Right here. Okay, I'm going to stop there. We're going to pick up from there after. And we'll go this way. I want this bigger. Oh, that looks so cute. Okay, here we're going to do one more big dot, and then I'm going to start thinning them down a little. So you see how you can get so many different sizes out of one dotting tool? And it all comes back to how much paint do you have? How much pressure are you putting? Okay. Now I want to go down to a smaller size. That was my 3mm. You can see how much larger the ball on that one is. And this is my 2mm, which is what we've been using to outline all of this. So you can see the difference in shape between those and size. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle, and I think I'm going to do the 1mm, which is pretty small. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to do the 2mm because I need it to taper off at the end, not right at the beginning. So I'm going to start with the 2mm, and we're going to go into a curve. We're going to try to do this little, what's that called? A curl. I think it's a curl. Yeah. Cute. That came out cute. Okay. How about you? Beautiful. That's going to be a lot more easy to see once I erase all the guidelines, but for right now, I'm very pleased with that. Okay, so now in terms of the sticks on the arrows, I think we're going to use that same dark brown that we used for her hair. It'll give a nice contrast. And I'm going to use my really, really skinny dotting tool, which is the 0.8mm dotting tool, because we want them to be really fine. I'm going to leave this one alone for now and let it dry. We'll do these ones real quick. because I want to do all of this particular work, like this detailed work now. And then we will move on to filling everything in, which is, in some ways, it's faster. This paint is not behaving nicely. Are you too thick now? Let me see. Because it's been sitting here for a while. It's gotten a little thick. I'm going to top it up a little bit. Okay. That's better. Okay, this one. I kind of don't know why this is curving, but it is. My dots are getting bigger. That's okay. One more. We're going to put that like tail, these little tails, we're going to put those in too. Not really sure how to do that, so we'll wait on that. Okay, I got one more over here. All right. Okay, I would say we have a good, we've got our outline done. It's time to start filling in now. And we're going to have to decide what to do about the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, because they really are going to get lost in the dots we use for the face. So I don't know. We're going to leave them for now, and we'll come back to it. Let's start with the hair. I'm going to lighten up a little bit of brown. I have this really small paint pot. I don't know if this is going to be big enough, actually, but we'll try. This paint is a little goopy. That's probably why it was giving me such a hard time. Okay, that's actually way too light in comparison. Well, I want it to be lighter than the dark brown, obviously, because we want to fill in. That's a little too light, though. Let's make you a little darker. I'm getting closer. Yeah, there's something hanging out of here. Gyros. You know when paint gets that little skinny, like that film, like right inside the paint? Oh my God, how much that irritates me. I can't even. I cannot even. Okay, let's see. I like that. That is bueno. We're going to stick with you. Okay, so let's fill in the hair. We're going to start by using the biggest dotting tool we have. Now, remember, the biggest dotting tool gave us these dots here. So I'm actually going to go up by using these dotting tool rods that I have. I picked these up from Happy Dotting Company. check them out. They have a lot of great dotting stuff and great customer service as well. And if you don't want to deal directly through their website, you can probably pick up most of these on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go up to the 4.5. I don't want to get any bigger than that. And it's only going to be for a handful of dots. So basically what we're going to be doing is filling in each of these sections with varying sizes of dots. Okay. And because we want the outline to always pop if possible, that's why we're switching to a slightly different brown. I'm only going to do a few of these really big ones, and then we're going to go in with like the 3mm and the smaller ones as well. Trust the process. It's going to look weird at first, but it's going to look great in the end. Got to be careful. I don't want to accidentally overlap the outline. That one got a little messy. Do you want to put any more? I can't fit any in that spot. Okay. That's enough. Now we're going to go in with that 3mm, which is the biggest stylus I have. But first I need a sip of water because I'm parched. As per usual, Mary's doing a lot of yapping tonight. Okay. So because I don't want to accidentally touch anything that might still be wet, I am going to flip this around. Oh, there's a few of these that have some bubbles. I will pierce you. I will pop you. You shall be popped. Sometimes they won't pop, in which case, wait, because they will pop eventually, whether it's you or life. But I hate the look of a popped bubble in my final dot. Like that irks me to no end, which is why we pop the bubbles. Pop all the bubbles. Oh boy, this one really got a lot of bubbles in it, eh? See, that's because I stirred too fast. For future reference, when stirring your paints, do so with some decorum, okay? Because when you get all spazzy, you end up with air bubbles all over the place. Okay, so we're going to use the 3mm dotting tool for this part, and this is going to be a dot 3 times. Usually in a triangle formation is how I go. So here's what I mean. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Can't do that there. Now, don't worry. We are going to come back and fill this in later. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can leave it with more sparse dots. Like we're going to leave this shortly because there's going to come a point where I won't have enough room with these dotting tools, and we are going to need to let this dry a little bit. Yeah, I'm really not loving this paint. It's not performing the way I want. It's not a big deal. Just work around it. Okay. Oh, I can do something up here. Mary, what are you doing? Okay. So if you wanted to, you could leave the hair like that. You can tell it's hair now, right? Like you can see that it's filled in. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let this dry for a while. I'll move on to something else and we're going to come back to it. So I need to make a decision on what we're going to do about these eyes. And I think I'm going to just do a dark brown full dot on each of them, because trying to do this super cute little upside down smile is not going to work with dotting, at least not for this. So I don't want them to be too big, but that's cute. Now the nose, I'm going to make a super tiny dot for the nose. I don't know what to do about the mouth because I don't want it to be like red. I don't know. Well, I feel like I might lighten up the skin color as well. I might do a lighter tan for the inside, in which case this darker tan would do well for the nose and mouth because there's not really any like pink or anything. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to start filling it in and see how I feel. So I said I'm going to try to make a color out of this. This is why I have so many of these paint pods with me tonight, because I knew I was going to be mixing colors quite a lot. You're always better off starting with white and then adding your color as you go, because it darkens a lot faster than you think it will. I still wanted to have that caramel mocha vibe, you know? I don't want to lose that color. I just want it to be a little bit lighter. No, this is still way too light. It is way too light. Let's see. That's still too white. For sure, I'm going to make it too dark now because I'm getting impatient. Okay. I think we might be at a better color now. Let's see. Why does it feel like the same color still? Didn't I just put a whole bunch in here? Okay, I'm not putting any more. Whatever this color turns out to be is the color we're going to use. This is actually a really nice color. Oh, I almost made a big mess. This is right side by side. I'm okay with that. Am I okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with it. Okay, We're going to dot inside the face. Again, we're going to do the same thing we did with inside the hair, which is we're going to start off with a bigger dotting tool, which is this 4.5 rod. I'm going to use the side that's 4.5. I'm only going to do a few of those dots in the face, I think. We'll see. It'll mix in later on. Right now it'll be glaring, but when we fill everything in, they'll mix in nicely. Yeah, we're going to need to make a decision on this mouth. I think I am going to use this darker tan for the mouth and the nose. I think I might do that now before I go any further. Okay. Let's do... I can use the top of my dotting tool, which is probably about a 1.25. Yeah, you got thick, which is to be expected. It's been sitting around for a while. Okay. I'm going to start with the nose. I don't even know how you're going to tell that's the nose. This is what I'm saying. It's going to be really... I don't know. I'm going to leave it. If we need to adjust it later, we will. But I knew that was going to be a challenge, so I'm not surprised. Okay, I'm going to fill in some more of the face now using my 3mm dotting tool and that dot, dot, dot. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be questionable. I might have to go back in and put some more dots on the face for the mouth. We'll see. I might end up later going back with like a pink or something, because that would make it really obvious that it's a mouth. Kind of looks like you kind of have like the chicken pox. But don't worry. It will be very different when we're done. Okay. I think we're going to leave this to dry a bit. And we'll come back afterwards to fill in. Okay. Let's fill in the arms and legs while we've got this color going. I actually want to stir it a little bit. I'm noticing like some white swirls in the paint, which means it's not as well mixed as I thought. Okay. Okay, since the arms are very small, I'm not even going to pretend to try to use the bigger dotting tool, but I am going to point out a couple of areas where I was waiting to fill in dots because I was too tight of a spot. So this is one of those areas. So I am going to go ahead and put a dot in there right now with the darker cashmere tan, it's called. And I'm using a small dot for this. Beautiful. There's also one up there at the ear that we wanted to do. So I'm going to do that as well. Wonderful. Are there any other spots with this color? No. Great. Now, to fill in the arms and stuff, because there's not a big gap, I'm going to stick with really small dots in these areas. I don't want it to just look like rows and rows. I kind of want it to be filled in with dots. So we're going to start with the top of the dotting tool, which has that thinner 1.25 dot. Okay, we'll come back and fill that in some more once it dries. I guess I don't really have a choice. I do have to do it like a line. And then we'll come back and fill it after. Ow. Oh, shoot. I just realized what I'm doing. I'm filling in the arms with that darker tan. That's a mistake. That is an error. Okay, I'm going to stop the mistake, and I'm going to switch over to the right color. And that's just going to be okay because whatever. Things happen. We move on. Maybe it'll look like a highlight or something. Since there's so many shades on here, it will probably end up looking intentional, even though it was totally a mistake on my part. As you can see, I don't stress over mistakes. I don't see the point. I'm just trying to enjoy myself. I hope you are as well. And yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave the arms, let them dry up a bit. We'll come back and fill them in some more later. And let's move on to the legs. I probably could do some big dots on here too. Let's do a couple of these 4.5s. Just a few. Okay, good. Got a lot of bubbles in these bigger dots. It's not surprising because there's so much air in this paint. I see you. Stop trying to hide from me, bro. I will find you and I will pop you. Okay, I'm going to leave that for a bit to dry as well. What shall we do next? Let's do the dress. Okay, we're going to bring back that blue that we lightened up. That is full of the bubbles. And I don't think I want to put big dots in the dress. I want to make that a little different. Do I? No, let's put a couple big ones in there. Only a few, because there's not a lot of space, really. Okay, great. That is very good. Oh, this one's full of bubbles too. So yeah, okay, reminder, stir slowly when you mix your paint, because if not, you're going to be doing this, popping all the bubbles that you caused to happen because you put air into the paint when you were mixing it. So say as I do and not as I, what? Do as I say and not as I do. Oh my God, I way to mess that up, Mary. Okay, I think that's as much as I'm willing to do. I'm going to let them dry. We'll come back and fill in a bit more. Okay. All right, so we have a couple of things we can do next. We can fill in the hearts, like the little arrow hearts, or we can start filling in the actual, like, I think I need to do the hearts next, and then we'll dot around them. Okay, so let's move on to, I'm going to actually draw these in with my dotting tool. I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to use this as though it's a marker. I'm going to drag my paint where I need it. I just realized at the beginning of this live, I showed you a bunch of paintbrushes. So that means I have a bunch of paintbrushes over here and I'm still using my dotting tool, but that's okay. You can use your dotting tools in a million different ways. So it's a good lesson to know. Okay. Beautiful. I think I'm going to use a smaller dotting tool for those two because I don't trust that I'll be able to get the right shape. This one. Okay. Beautiful. I'm going to get my smaller dotting tool to do these ones up here. Again, you could totally use a paintbrush for this, or if you have paint crayons or paint markers rather, it's also another good option. I'm going to try not to touch those white dots if I can avoid them. I feel like this needs to be a little pointier. That's good. Cute. That worked out really nicely. Okay, so let's fill in the cloud, and then we're going to go back and start putting in additional dots. Now, if you're a new dot painter and you feel like, oh, wow, I can't put in any smaller dots than that, like that's enough, that's fine. You can totally see what this is now, right? Like you can tell what we're making here, right? So if you didn't want to fill in anymore, you don't have to. I will because I like to, but not urgent, not necessary. Do you? But I recommend giving it a shot, especially if you're new to dot painting. Make sure that the dots are all dry in the section before you start working on it again. That's a great way to try to avoid those blob dots that I keep talking about, is making sure that your dots are somewhat dry. I mean, they don't have to be completely dry, but dry enough that they're not going to be, you know, not going to turn their heads for a pretty face. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's do the clouds. I'm going to start again with that 4.5 down here, maybe one or two up there, but not many. We're going to have to fill in the little basket for the arrows as well in a minute. That was, I think I did the gray for that one. So we'll do that after. So this is cloud as well, but not that. This is, you know what, I'm going to have to fill in those, the arrow, the little fin on the arrow. I'm going to need to do that now, or else I'm going to, oh, shoot. I wasn't supposed to put that there. That's supposed to be just background. I need a Q-tip. Okay, I'm going to twist and pull. Okay. I'm going to do a twisting motion. And the reason I'm doing a twisting motion instead of going like this is because doing this motion is just going to move your paint around. But doing the twist that I'm doing is going to pick that paint up onto the Q-tip end. And then you have a nice cleaned off area without any issue. And this is how we fix the mistake. All right, beautiful. Okay, I'm going to continue filling in the white dots to some degree. So you're going to start noticing now as I'm filling things in. Oh, I have to do the end of the arrow before I forget. What was I saying? You're going to start to notice while I'm filling things in that a lot of the detail that we have from the outline is going to get lost because of all of the other dots that are around it. That's what I was trying to say earlier. So don't stress yourself about it too much. You are going to lose some of the detail because of their dots. But who cares? You're still going to know exactly what this is. It's going to look just as cute. Okay, I'm going to pause the white for a second. I need to decide what color I'm going to make. Do I need red for anything else? No. Maybe I will add some white to my red. Let's see. Maybe a tiny, tiny bit more. I want it to be like a light red as opposed to a pink, which I know is the same thing, but you know what I mean, right? I know you know what I mean. I know you know. Okay, I'm going to use my smallest dotting tool for this because I'm basically just going to dot outwards a little bit. Like a bunch of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That's okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll do one more on that side. I hope that doesn't look stupid. Well, because it goes past it on the image. Let me go up here. And maybe we'll close it off at the top. Yeah, that'll do. The only other one that has one is this one. Okay, I'm going to close off the top and then fill in. Oh, I just made a blob dot. That's okay. I don't actually care about that one. I'm going to leave it. All right. It is beautiful. So let's go back to filling in some of these white dots on the cloud. I see red on you. I do not need any red in my white paint, sir. Thank you. Wait. I have to pay attention. I've almost 3 times almost dipped into this gray. Okay, this is part of the cloud up here as well. Or possibly her angel wings. I don't know. That spiral is going to be impossible to see. Okay. I don't think I can do any more with this big dotting tool. There's not a lot of room left. Okay, we are going to move on to, yeah, this is part of the cloud. Okay, we're going to leave that to dry. And I'm going to fill in this gray dart holder. Is that called a quiver? I think it's called a quiver. I don't know why I think that, but I do. All right, we're going to go with a 2 millimeter for that one because the outline is much thinner, so we can get away with a few. I don't know if I'm going to fill in, you see how there's like this dark area inside where you're holding the arrows? I don't think I'm going to fill that part in with like a darker gray. I think I'm going to leave it. Oh, I just realized that was supposed to have a stick, that arrow too. That's okay. All right. I'm going to let that sit for a bit and dry. So right now, if you wanted to stop at this point, feel free with my blessing. I would consider this fine, great, beautiful, stunning. But I am going to continue filling this in with really small dots, starting up at the top with the hair. So I'm going to add a little more. Oh, no, that's not the paint I need. Oh, boy, I almost caused a disaster. I need this paint. Get out. Blow on it and try to get the bubbles to pop before I start. Okay, I'm going to turn this upside down because it is the most convenient for me. If you're comfortable hovering your hand to dot, feel free to do that. I don't have that kind of hand strength, so I always rest my hands, and it's easier if I know I'm not about to rest it in some dots. Now, I'm going to be using my smallest dotting tool, which is the 0.8 millimeter. It's super small. If you're dotting with non-traditional tools, I would compare this to like a toothpick. So these dots are so small that you won't even see them. But combined together, they are going to equal the color brown. I actually feel like this is a little too small. I'm going to go up to the 1 millimeter dotting tool, which is this blue one. It's a bit bigger. I feel like we'll get a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Because remember, when you do multiple dots, 1, 2, 3, you're getting a smaller dot every single time because the paint that's on your dotting tool is, evaporating. Well, it's not evaporating. It's being left behind as a dot, but it's running out. And so it's going to just naturally give you a smaller dot. So remember, there's no pattern here. We're just trying to fill in. So if you accidentally dot on top of another dot, oh well. If somebody actually notices that and is fool enough to point it out, send them to me. And I will laugh in the face. Ha 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 ha, like that. Just like that. Because I don't care. Now that I'm about at the halfway point of this hair, I'm going to turn this around so we can have a look at it and you can see why I like filling this in. Can you see a difference between this half and that half? I mean, is it the be all and end all? No, but it starts to make this more of like a solid color almost. You know what I'm saying? So you get more of that vibe. So we're going to do that across this entire image. So we're going to fill in with smaller dots. It's not going to take that long, believe it or not. It goes pretty fast because we've filled in all of these big dots too, right? So again, not necessary. You could totally stop and you did a great job. Congratulations. Good job. Thanks for hanging out with me. But if you'd like to continue, so will I. Got a lot of splatter on this. There's lots of little marks around the edges that I'm not a fan of. I'm going to see if I can take them off later. And by take them off, I'm going to try a few things. I'll try using a damp Q-tip and see if I can activate the paint enough to get it to move and come off. If not, I could use a toothpick to try to scrape it off a bit. They're not big dots. It won't be a big deal to get it off. I don't think, at least. And if neither of those things work, then I'm just going to forget that they're there and move on with my life because it's not a big deal. Take it easy. It's just dot painting. I love dot painting. I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff. I find this very calming and cathartic and relaxing and drops that blood pressure down. And you get to make something so pretty. It's also very satisfying to watch it come together, you know? All right. All right. Okay. I feel like, what do you think? Pardon me. Do you see the difference between filling it in and leaving it open? You could totally leave it open, but it makes a difference. Like, to me, it makes a difference to fill that in. So we will continue to do so. Now, as of right now, you can probably still see the lips on this. I don't know how that's going to go. That little smile there. I think I might have to dot over those dots with pink or red. Maybe that pink that I made for, yeah, you know what? I think I might do that right now. Are you dry? Yeah, it is dry. I think I might just cover those with these dots. What do you think? I don't even know if you can see it, but I can see the difference. And I think it's better. I think it's better to have that pink instead of taupe. Okay, I'm going to fill in the face now, which we're going to be using this lighter cashmere tan mixed with white. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be using my 1mm dotting tool for this to fill in. Now keep in mind, even with the hair that we just finished, can let that dry a little bit more while we work on other things and then go back to it and add even more dots to fill in and cover up that background color. Totally up to you. It's a matter of personal preference. If you feel like you're good, then you're good. If you feel like, oh, there's a little too much pink showing from the background, I want more hair, then go for it. This is yours after all. It should be something that speaks to you. I'm going to be careful around the mouth because it's still wet now. If you're just joining me, we are dot painting a little Cupid Angel tonight. It's a little sign that I'm going to be using to make a wreath on Thursday with this as the centerpiece. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to look super cute. If you guys are enjoying this, I'd love it if you could smash that like button. It does help get me in front of the right people. I'd appreciate it because it's always nice to be around people who appreciate what you're doing. Not people who are like, what is this lady doing? I'm making a Cupid Angel, obvi. Now for the hair, I might not go back and fill in anymore. I feel like what we already did should suffice. But for the face, I might feel the need to go back and do a little bit more. Because you want those dots to kind of blend together, not overlap each other, but like when you're looking at it from afar or whatever, you want them all to kind of work together to give you the gist of the image, right? So I don't want it to look like she's just breaking out in zits and it's a bunch of dot zits, you know? You want it to look like the skin. I think I might need a smaller dotting tool for this part. Things are getting a little cramped. It's getting a little tight. All right, what do you think? Let's see. Cute. So cute. I'm going to fill in the ear a little bit more. I totally neglected the ear over here. Sorry about that. Apologies. Okay. I'm pleased with that. Let's move on to, do I want to do the arms now? Yeah, let's do the arms. I'm already using this color. Let's finish off the body. So because these arms are so small, I'm going to go to my absolute smallest dotting tool for this, which is the 0.8 millimeter. It's super tiny. It would be in the equivalent of like a toothpick, in my opinion. So this is going to be great for getting into those really small nooks and crannies, which is really all we have on the arms at this point. All right, I think that's all I can fit here. Let's go to this arm. All right. I'm pleased with that. Let's move on to the legs. For the legs, I'm going to go back to that 1 millimeter. It's a tiny bit bigger. Can help you cover real estate a bit faster than that 0.8 millimeter and still let you get into those smaller nooks and crannies. I'm going to switch for the feet. I need a smaller tool for that. Yeah, I think I need to move on to the smaller tool now. All right. I'm happy with that. I think I'm going to leave. I consider that done. We're not going to go back to these guys. Your legs and arms are fini. Let's move on to the, what should we do next? Should we do the dress next or should we do the clouds next? Let's do the dress next. So we made that lighter blue for the inside of the dress. I'll turn up my heater in here. It's getting a little chilly. Okay, I'm going to start with that 1 millimeter again. And then we'll have to keep in mind that the arms and the legs are still wet. So keep track of where you're resting your hand. It's muy importante. Which I have done that before. I have most definitely rested my hands in wet dots in the past. And let me tell you how that turned out. Not so great. Not so great. 2 thumbs down. Do not recommend. This one I might come back to do a few more dots on later, because I would like it to be pretty full. Not a lot of pink peeking through. Yeah, we're going to definitely have to size down for inside the pleats here. All right. That looks great. I'm going to size down to my back again to the 0.8 millimeter. I'm going to be going between these 2 dotting tools pretty exclusively until we're done, I think. And we are very close to being done. I think that's all I want to try for right now. If I feel compelled to come back and do a few more after, I will when it's dry. I don't want to run the risk of making big blobs. All right. I think before I do the clouds, I'm going to try to finish off this silver arrow holder thingy. Let's see. That's not so bad. We will use it. I'm torn what to do about the inside, like this section here. I think I am going to make it a little bit darker. I've been debating about it for a while, but it looks stupid to have the pink because it doesn't make sense for the pink to be there. So I do need to make it a little darker to show that it's the inside. So I'm going to add a bit more black to this. Solo un poquito. And we'll see. Seriously, it was one little drop of black. I'm going to put the tiniest bit more. I don't know if this is going to be a tiny bit now. Okay. I think that'll do. That should do. Okay, I'm going to, I think I'm going to use the 1 millimeter for this. I don't think you can even tell. That's all right. It's still better than having the pink because I don't think the pink would have made sense. The background coming through just wouldn't have made any sense. All right. Let's fill in the rest of our cloud. I'm going to start at the top around her shoulders. Remember that little spiral that we made in here? That's going to get lost in all these dots now. This is the kind of thing I was talking about. That extra level of detail gets lost. And that's okay. We expected it, right? And if you weren't expecting it, that just shows you that you weren't listening to me because I totally said that. I don't blame you. I haven't stopped yapping. Beautiful. Do you see the difference between this side and this side because of just filling in that little bit? It makes a big difference. I mean, at least to me, it does. I feel like it gives you that impression of the complete cloud now, as opposed to a bit of a scattering. But again, if you're a beginner and these little dots intimidate you, by all means, skip them. Stick with the sizes that make you comfortable for the time being and continue doing things like this in practice. These kinds of projects are great for practicing because you get something pretty in the end, no matter how messy it turns out. And it's fun to look back and see how far you've come over time when you get tidier and tidier, and yet you still have fun little projects that you can do. To me, this is way more fun than using like a practice sheet and just dotting over and over and over again. I feel like, oh my God, just kill me. How boring. But to actually make something and, have the challenge of figuring out what colors you want to use and how you want to use them and where do you want to put that dot and all of that, this kind of stuff to me it's a good time. I feel like there's not much more we can do up here. Okay, remember, this is the edge, so I got to stay in here. This is going to look really cool when we erase all the guidelines. And it's just dots. It's going to look really cool, I think. What do you guys think? Can you tell what it is? Can you tell that it's a Cupid Angel with its little arrow? Oh, I did it again. Mary. Okay, we're going to do a twist to pull that paint up. Twist again, just like we did last summer. All right. I'm going to try to remind myself to stay over here. Okay. I don't think I can cram any more dots in there right now. So let's move down here. Okay, guys, we're in the home stretch right now. This is the last section we're going to be working on tonight. We are about 2.5 hours in. Which is not bad. I thought I might not be able to finish this tonight and I'd have to continue tomorrow night, but I am pleased with the progress that we've achieved. And tomorrow, all I'm going to do is erase the guidelines. So I recommend the same to you. If you are dotting along, please don't be silly and do what I have done many times before. Don't erase your guidelines until you know your paint is beyond dry. It needs to be so dry that it's not going to lift when you start trying to use an eraser. And then once I finish erasing my guidelines, as I mentioned earlier, something that I've noticed happens is you start to realize that you left some gaps without putting in some dots that could have or should have been there because the lines disguised it from you. You didn't notice it as much. So when you do erase your guidelines, make sure you have your dotting tools and your paints handy because you might decide on a few touch-ups And then you want to let your paint dry for another 24 hours if you do touch-ups, ideally. And then a nice coat of varnish will do you well. Okay. I'm going to throw a little of these. I have a couple little ones I want to add in places that are calling to me. Okay. What do you think? Are we done? What do you think? I think we're done. I don't see the need to change anything. If anything, possibly a tiny bit of a darker nose, but I actually don't want to do that. I feel like it'll be too black in your face. So I am pleased with this. I consider this project complete. I will, as I said earlier, I'm going to let this dry for 24 hours and then erase the guidelines. That's very important. Don't forget to erase your guidelines, especially if you're going to seal it with a varnish. And I highly recommend that you do, especially if you're going to be using your project for the wreath that we're going to be making on Thursday night. So that's why I made this beautiful Cupid Angel for a Valentine's Day wreath that I'm going to be making live this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you join me to make a beautiful background for this stunning piece that we just completed. I hope you enjoyed dotting with me tonight. I had a really great time. And if you're new to dot painting and you're interested in learning a little bit more, check out my channel. I have a ton of videos, lives like these ones, things that are mandala based, ornaments. Oh my God, I've dot painted so many things on this channel. It's cray. So there's a million things out there if you're interested. I have these long content live ones, and I also have the ones that are like 10 to 15 minutes long that are, you know, edited down, and you don't get to hear quite so much Mary yapping, but don't think you're going to escape it completely, because I really do not shut up. So even the short videos are full of my voice. So I hope you enjoyed dotting with me tonight. I had a great time. I'd love to see you back again next week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to be dotting another Valentine's Day themed project. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!